Welcome to the Lean Solutions Podcast, where we discuss business solutions to help listeners develop and implement action plans for true lean process improvement. I am your host, Patrick Adams. Hello and welcome to the Lean Solutions Podcast. My guest today is Kelvin Williams, and Kelvin is actually a returning guest. He was with us back in season 1, where we had an amazing discussion and we talked about getting back together, and today is the day. So let me tell you just a little bit about Kelvin, because we are going to dive into his book, which I'm excited about because we didn't get to talk about that last time. But throughout his career, he has helped to generate over $2.5 billion in cost savings and growth opportunities for some pretty amazing organizations. This was done by applying sound principles of industrial engineering, lean, operations leadership, and of course, respect for people. He works on the cutting edge of both operational excellence and technology. He's the CEO and founder at Improver Inc., which we talked extensively about last time we were on. But he's also the author of the book Fit, The Simple Science of Achieving Strategic Goals. Welcome back to the show, Kelvin.
Patrick, thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate the warm introduction there.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into your book, which did publish just this last December. Is that correct?
That is correct. Just in time for Christmas.
Yes. All right. And so, you're a few months in here with the publishing of the book, and it is out on Amazon. We'll drop a link to it into the show notes. But how's the process been since it's published? How have things gone for the book for you? What has it been like?
Yeah, it's been good. The book has become almost a business card for me, right? I meet people now, and their first impression of me is, "Hey, I read your book, and I like what you have to say, and now let's talk business," right? It's a great way to get the conversation started, really.
Sure.
So
yeah, absolutely. So tell us the premise of Fit. What give us a little bit of the background, just so that listeners know.
Yeah, so FIT is both an acronym and an adjective. I'll quickly walk through both of those. On the acronym side, FIT stands for focus, as in focus on what's most important to improve. I stands for iterate, meaning iterate toward your goal, as opposed to just taking a big slug of tasks and trying to implement them all at once, right? Just iterate, take an iterative step. And then T stands for track your progress along the way. So with each implementation, with each iteration, you can measure the true impact of what you're doing. Instead of just saying, "Hey, we got better," you can say, "Hey, we did this exact thing and it improved results by, 8.5%, for example," right? So, and that sort of gives you validation of the real impact of each iteration. So pretty simple, really. On the adjective side, though, FIT stands for becoming what you need to become in order to achieve your goal. So again, with the first F, focus on what's most important to improve, set a goal. Hopefully it's a challenging goal, something meaningful. But then it's a process of becoming what you need to become, adjusting your behavior pattern, your mindset, making changes within yourself and the processes that you control to become that person or that business that's capable of achieving what you set out to do.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously the word fit, I don't, if you work out, I'm assuming that you do, but
not enough.
Obviously that's the first thing I think about is like staying fit, right? So our physical bodies and staying fit, I don't necessarily think organization, but obviously that makes sense. So was there a tie-in when you came up with the title to like our physical bodies and staying fit? And what did that look like when you were kind of putting together the title for this book?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it's for, right? Because if you think about what fitness means for a mountain climber, and this is in the intro of the book too, fitness for a mountain climber is very different for fitness for a NFL football player who's trying to win a Super Bowl, right? While a mountain climber might be thinking about like mental endurance and dealing with the conditions, hot, cold, whatever the case may be, breathing techniques, things like that. That's fitness. Like you need to nail those things down to be a great mountain climber. But if you're trying to win in a Super Bowl, like the things you need to nail down are going to be different, right? Just obviously speed, sprint speed and, mental endurance of, staying in the game through overtime, and obviously the physical, the skills necessary to perform in your specific role on the field. That's the definition of fitness for that, that job, right? So fitness is more relevant to the goal of the individual. And if you tie all the goals of individuals together, you should be able to add that all up to the goal of the organization, right? So yeah, successful companies are made up of successful people, and that's the concept.
No, I love that, and I like that you use the examples of two totally different like sports, or activities, mountain climbing and football, because it makes me think about, just organizations that are trying to apply specific tools to, become a lean company or whatever it might be. And sometimes the tools work and sometimes they don't work, but some of those behaviors, those underlying behaviors and those actions are going to work maybe in both areas where maybe the tools need to be a little bit different. Would you agree with that? Or
yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about the way a lot of companies have approached lean, it's been very much tools and training and workshop, project driven, which if you're a company that's trying to become number one in the market space, right? You're trying to become, increase market share, and you want every household using your product, right? The way you approach lean and the way you operate your business, the way you approach continuous improvement should be different from a company that's trying to maximize margin per individual sale, right? Or, a company that's trying to maximize flexibility so they can serve new customers, different customers, right? Maybe enter different markets. So depending on what your company strategy is, that should trickle down, or that should sort of give instruction to what tools or what methods, or even how you prioritize projects, right? As to what you go after and how you prioritize those iterations. Like, what are we trying to achieve? Get clear on that first, and then you use the tools as a mechanism or a means to achieve your, your vision or your goal.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like that. And I used to work out a lot more than I do now. I still run quite a bit, so I try to run, a few days a week, and just to keep myself fit, right?
Good for you.
Yeah, I try to as much as possible. I need to get more consistent, but
right.
I think about the things that I need to do in order to stay healthy, right? I need to watch my diet. I need to stay consistent with exercise. I mean, there's certain things that I need to do to stay fit, right? And be consistent. What does it look like for an organization, right? So how does an organization stay fit?
If you look at an organization and what it is, if you can put a definition around what an organization is, it can almost be described as the collection of habits and behavior patterns that it displays, right? And I think Mike Rother and his work with Toyota Kata, I think lean in its original intent before it became, what it's sort of turning into, which may have strayed a little bit from the original intent. What they were trying to do is, create a mechanism to shape and drive the right behavior patterns. And fit for an organization might be, how frequently do we reconnect and conduct those iteration cycles so we can drive that routine improvement? Because the behavior pattern that you're trying to drive with fit is really the behavior pattern of routine iteration. So if it's, if you're at the C level and you're a CEO, you want to iterate as frequently as possible, but you're going to have some natural limitations, right? One is going to be how quickly you can get data back from your system after you make a change, right? Sure. And if you're at the C level, usually things move a little slower when it comes to data and feedback. So you might be iterating at a monthly or even quarterly cycle, right? If you're in the middle of the organization, you can usually get feedback quicker, and you might be iterating at a, let's say monthly cycle, right? You get to frontline supervisor, we're talking weekly. As you get closer to the front line, where you have a more real-time stream of data and information coming, being fed back to you, you can iterate more frequently, meaning, daily, perhaps even hourly, right? If you want to get to that level. So fitness in this sense is, one, knowing what you want to be when you grow up, right? Knowing where you're going, having clarity on your North Star. This is the mountain we're going to conquer next, right? Get clear on that. And then it's making those iterative steps in that direction. And then at a company-wide scale, you're talking about engaging an entire organization to help you do that. So each and every person in the company should have a goal, and each and every person in the company should be iterating toward that goal on a consistent basis. So
what would your recommendation be as we think about the focus area of fit? And you mentioned, everyone in the organization should have a goal. How many goals is the right number for a team or a person? I mean, in order to really stay focused and be able to apply the next, couple phases here.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation there?
That's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked. I would say that a person only needs one goal in order to start going.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean abandon everything else and disrespect everyone else who also have goals, right? But it means in order to start taking steps, you need one goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those goals are organized almost like sprints, right? So what we encourage is, instead of having 5 goals per year per person, just set one goal and give them 6 weeks, right? Because if you can achieve one goal every 6 weeks, you'll end up with way more than 5 by the end of the year. So you're actually better off by now. There's another aspect of this. There's several other aspects of this, and one is like goal whip, like the whole concept of lean one-piece flow. All the benefits you get from reducing inventory, you get from reducing goal whip as well, right? The science behind this is a person is going from 2 goals down to 1. A person is 243% more likely to achieve it by going from 2 goals down to 1.
Wow.
So as you stack on more goals, the likelihood of achieving any of them is exponentially declining. The other piece of that is 92% of people never achieve goals. So there's for any goal that you have assigned in an organization, there's only an 8% chance that it's going to get achieved. And it's largely dependent on who you assign it to. Some people are drivers and achievers and goal oriented. But there's a good chance that 92% of your organization is not. So the real opportunity for a leader is to activate the 92. How do we get them achieving? Because obviously we're talking about speed, we're talking about competitiveness, we're talking about winning markets, we're talking about winning customers. Speed is a huge piece of the puzzle. So, and I know a lot of leaders that are frustrated that they want to see results. They want to see results faster. The ticket to that is to activate the 92% and give them the conditions that will increase the likelihood that they will achieve their goals as well.
Right. Well, and the fact that you mentioned that, which is obviously just staggering to even think about, but 8%, if you already you're getting 8% of your team to achieve their goals and you're working on the 92, how much more important is it knowing that you have that the goals that they're working on are aligned to your true north, that you have a connection, right? Because if it's only 8% and your team doesn't have clarity and you're taking the shotgun approach and they're just working on stuff that may or may not bring them closer to your true north.
That's it.
That has to be another piece of this, right? I mean, you have to be aligned.
That's it. I guess the other way to look at it like this, 8% is like 1/12, right? Let's say you give a person 12 goals. That's a lot. I've had a boss give me more than 12 goals once, right? But let's say you give a person 12 goals, and by the end of the year, you look back and you say, you know what? 11 of those didn't matter that much, but this one did. How do you know that the one that mattered is going to be the one that got done, right?
Right.
So as a leader, the challenge with this whole approach is your ability to prioritize. And if the leader is down selecting and prioritizing to one goal at a time, it enables each person on their team to prioritize a lot better as well. So otherwise, you're sort of leaving it up to them to pick where they want to play, and that may end up being in a place that is completely irrelevant. And that happens way more than we like to think. So, yeah.
So important. And really what we're what we're kind of hitting on here a little bit is Hoshin, right? And when I'm just kind of, my mind is moving to lean, and I'm thinking about, obviously we're talking strategy execution, but Hoshin, making sure that every person in the organization knows how the work that they're doing is connected and to the overall organizational vision, but also that you're setting goals for your people or they're setting goals for themselves that are in alignment. So that makes sense to me. But what about the other pieces of fit, and how does that fit with lean, right? How do the two connect? Because obviously you're a continuous improvement guy. So I want to know, what's the connection with fit to lean specifically?
Yeah. So, and you talk about this in your book too, is that a lot of companies approach lean, and it ends up turning into hey, let's get people certified, or let's get people trained, and let's get them on a project. They do a project, maybe not, maybe they just, give the appearance of doing a project or being engaged. And then shortly afterward, you sort of pull out the lean manager or the consultant or the trainer, and everything sort of goes right back to normal, right? We see that all too often.
Yeah.
And I think the piece that became, went away or dissolved out of the way companies approach lean is the piece of the continuous improvement aspect, where the true Kaizen culture is everybody improving something important every day.
Yeah.
And if you're letting days go by where people just aren't engaged, aren't active, aren't improving, then whatever great work you might have done with lean falls back to the status quo, right? Yeah. So I think that's where fit comes in, and fitness is more about, even the connotation of the word lean is like you can get lean, and once you're there, you're done, right? Fit is always evolving, meaning, your goals are always evolving. There's never a point where you don't want better, or want a better life, or want to maybe change directions or do something different. So with that change, let's say customers change, customers' interests change, the market is changing, your level of fitness is changing. So, you got to kind of stay fit to keep up with the market, right? And the way to stay fit in this context is to keep that iteration cycle, everybody improving something important every day. That's the epitome of fitness.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick. So sorry to interrupt this episode of the Lean Solutions podcast, but I have an important question. Are you tired of the old ways of doing business? Feeling overwhelmed by inefficiencies and wasted resources? It's time to transform your approach and embrace the power of lean methodology. Welcome to our revolutionary Lean Solutions Academy with courses on lean methodology. Whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out, our courses are designed to equip you with the knowledge and skills that you need to streamline your operations and maximize your success. Our courses are packed with actionable strategies and real-world examples to help you apply lean principles to your own business. You'll learn how to optimize your workflows, reduce lead times, and deliver value to your customers more efficiently. From value stream mapping to 5S methodology, Six Sigma courses, Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt, Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, we cover all the essential tools and techniques used in Lean. You'll gain a deep understanding of waste identification, continuous improvement, and problem-solving methodologies. Our online platform allows you the flexibility to learn at your own pace from anywhere in the world. With high-quality video lessons, interactive quizzes, and downloadable resources, you'll have everything that you need to succeed. By enrolling in our Lean courses, you gain a competitive edge, increasing your operational efficiency and unlocking your business's true potential. Join the ranks of successful change agents who have embraced Lean and revolutionized their organizations. Enroll today and you'll get $100 off your first course, which practically pays for any of our e-learning courses. We want to make it so easy for you to jumpstart your Lean journey. Don't miss out on this incredible offer. Visit our website now and claim your discount at www.findleansolutions.com/academy. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. And how do you, what would be your suggestion to leaders to ensure that that's happening? I mean, how do we obviously we want to be focused. We talked about that. And
Right.
then the iterative piece is obviously so important, but how do we as leaders make sure that that's happening for us personally and for our teams?
Yeah, the key to that is obviously you got to have a degree of self-discipline, right? Especially as a leader, and most leaders do have some degree of, a little more self-discipline than the average person, right? You hope so anyway. But so, but sometimes it takes more than that, and this is to me the role of a good coach, because a good coach will not only help you see what your opportunities are and help you close those gaps to some extent. But they'll also show up when you don't want to show up, and they're going to hold you accountable to showing up. And ideally, a good coach brings that level of accountability and visibility and transparency that people need to stay the course. Ideally, and this is where I'm 100% alignment with your approach and Toyota Kata and some of those other approaches, is that a person's immediate manager would be their ideal coach. And because the manager has not only some skin in the game for your success, they also help drive alignment to what the company's trying to achieve, and can help mold goals into good, relevant goals for the business and for the individual. They can, there's a lot of things that a manager has some skin in the game to make sure goes right. And if you think of, I grew up in Chicago during the 90s. If you think of the Chicago Bulls during the 90s, you had Michael Jordan, but you also had Phil Jackson.
Right.
And Phil Jackson wasn't just, mailing in plays and saying, hey, run these 100 plays and then call me once the game is over. He was actually on the court during the play-by-play, observing and seeing what was going on with, the team and the other team and the score. He was in the mix of the action, and helping the team figure out, what's the next play, right? And how do we win? What opportunities are there? So I think in business, leaders or managers should also have that level of engagement in the play-by-play, right?
For sure.
I like the Scrum methodology also from Agile, right? Scrum is like, hey, you run a play, you call a huddle. Football is similar. Run a play, call the huddle. Hey, what went well? What didn't go well? What are our obstacles? What are we going to do next? ... And let's go out and run the next play. But, just like in basketball, the football coach is right there at the 50-yard line or right there on the field as well, right? Engaged in the play-by-play. So, so leaders got to stay engaged to the same extent when it comes to continuous improvement. And, the overall goal there is to create a more proactive culture. So you're not just reacting, and what they say, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So if you don't have time to coach and be proactive, you're going to end up having to make time to cure all the problems that occurred because you were not proactive.
So true. So true. And I'm guessing that there's probably leaders that are listening in right now that are not currently acting as a coach or not in a coaching role. And obviously you and I both agree with the importance, like you said, of immediate managers or immediate leaders being those coaches. But some people that are listening in maybe don't have that experience, or they don't know how to be a good coach, or what that should take. And so I'm thinking, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes and think, okay, what does it take? Because I agree with you. They already have the trust. The relationship is already built with their immediate, direct reports. So it makes sense for them to be the coach, right? If you bring in a third party or someone from the outside, obviously they have to build that relationship. They have to build some level of respect or trust in that relationship. So obviously that makes more sense. But for those that are listening in that say, you know what, I'm in that position right now, but I'm not acting as a coach. Any recommendations for someone that you would say, well, here are 2 or things you can do, or 3 things you can do to start becoming the coach that you should be?
Get it going. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of teaching someone to swim before you throw them in the pool. So, water is wet, right? And you move your arms like this and your feet like this, and eventually you'll learn to swim, right? So, I would say get a coach. You're in a leadership position, and you may first take some training. There's courses online. In fact, we offer a course on Toyota Kata. That's a good one, and Agile strategy execution. That's a good one too.
Yeah.
That can give you at least a base level framework of understanding and mindset, right? And then you can evaluate yourself to say, hey, am I doing these things? Are there things I maybe could do differently that will help get things moving? And give yourself an honest evaluation, right? And you'll probably see a lot of opportunities, which is great. And the next thing is, to try it, right? Try it, and then understand what works and what doesn't work, and then from there you're in a better position to go out and get a coach, right? Because I'm a kind of a believer of like you need to do your research, you need to try a few things, and then you need to get help. Once you've seen that, this is beyond me. And I know some of the conventional wisdom out there is, start with the coach. But I think I don't know if you fully appreciate a coach until you've tried it and maybe had some struggles already, right?
Yeah.
And,
I think far too often leaders are worried that they might not have all the answers, or that they, might say something wrong or whatever it might be. And I think, to your point, I think just getting out there and doing it, and be transparent with your team and let them know, like, hey, I'm learning just like you guys are, but there's some really great questions that are laid out, within Toyota Kata even, which is a great framework, like you said. And even just start with simple things like, what's working, what's not working. Let's have a conversation about that, right? I mean, that's just a great way to start being a good coach. And you don't have to have all the answers. That's what your team's for. You just have to help initiate the conversation and start, understanding what's happening, start helping to remove some roadblocks. I mean, whatever it might be that you can provide from a value perspective.
Yeah, the hardest part of it all is showing up every time on time.
Yeah.
It's the time management component. So as a leader, if you can, even if you're not doing it perfectly, if you can start to build the habit of showing up, getting to that routine of iterating, like that's that's where things fall apart, right? It's not the knowledge where things fall apart. Although the knowledge is great, I would say go get it. That can help. Read books, take courses, do what you got to do, get certified. Where the hard part is always in the doing, right? And doing it on a sustaining basis, because the moment you stop doing it, the party's over.
Yeah.
So you can always improve an existing party, but it's you got to show up, right?
Yeah.
And that's the routine you got to build. So I would say, try it on your own, see how far you get, and then continue to educate yourself and continue to improve. And I like the way you said that. I like the way you put it, is that, be transparent about the fact that you're learning. And part of being a good coach is being honest about, hey, I don't know all the answers. In fact, you and we're going to learn together. You're going to teach me just as much as I'm teaching you, probably more. But that's what we're trying to do here, right? It's like what Katie Anderson says, learning to lead, leading to learn, right? Mm-hmm. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Well, and that also supports the culture that you're trying to create, around removing fear of problems and the red and that there shouldn't be fear around those things. Like, if we don't know about the problems, then we can't solve them. So, if people are scared about being transparent about the problems or the areas that need to be improved or the opportunities, then you'll never improve. You'll never get better. So, just by you as a leader displaying that behavior, that's helping to reinforce the culture that you're trying to create within your organization.
That's powerful. Absolutely. Almost embrace the red, right?
Absolutely.
Embrace it. That's where your opportunity's at to do better.
Celebrate it, but then get rid of it.
Get rid of it. There you go.
What you got to do to turn it around.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Agile a bit ago. What exactly, some people are listening in may have not heard that term before, or maybe they have limited experience in that. What exactly is Agile strategy execution?
Yeah, so Agile was a methodology developed in the software, the tech industry, and the purpose of it was to get rid of all the wasted software being written, or at least cut down on it, because the opposite of Agile is what's called waterfall. Mm-hmm. And in the lean world, waste is almost synonymous with waterfall in the agile world. And waterfall is a methodology where you create these massive budgets and massive plans right up front, a whole bunch of task lists, assign the whole team, assign a timeline, create a Gantt chart. You sort of do all that up front before you turn to single stone, right? And then you go into execution phase where you implement the whole plan from start to finish. And then at the end of it, you turn it on. And then, after all the money and after all the time is spent, you see if it worked or not, right? That's kind of the waterfall methodology. What Agile does, it says, don't make such a huge investment. Turn the single stone that will turn the 20% that'll produce 80% of the benefit, right? Do one thing, get a minimum viable concept, right? Do one thing, see what impact it makes. All right, now let's do the next thing or the next small group of things, see what impact it makes, and so forth and so on. So what Agile strategy execution is doing is saying, instead of the annual strategy planning process where you come up with all the projects and all the tasks and all the owners and the metrics and all that up front during a 1 week or 2 week planning process, and then spend the rest of the year, trying to implement that. And then after a year, you find out if the plan was good or bad, right? Very expensive, very time consuming, and almost an enormously high, I think 90% failure rate. Instead of doing that, organize goals in sprints. Basically, as a leader, you say, hey, here's where I want to be in 3 months. Here's where I want to be in a year. But here's the next thing I want to focus on for the next 3 months, right? Get your team to commit. All right, each of us is going to create a goal, right? And that goal becomes that sprint for that person, right? And then they, hopefully the goals are, you want to set the goals to align both vertically and horizontally across the team, and then everybody sprints. And that simple cascade basically trickles down until you got every single person in the company. You should be able to see, not only is everybody plugged in, but everybody has a goal. And for everybody who has a goal, you should be able to see exactly where they are against their goal in real time, right? And if you can see that, you've got, just imagine a company that's that aligned, that focused up against a company that's in complete disarray. If it's a foot race, it's pretty obvious who to bet your money on, right? And that's what investors do, right? They're picking which racer to bet on, and I would bet on the one that's focused and aligned and accelerating versus the one that's in chaos.
Right. Well, the other benefit too that you get with agile methodology is the customer is seeing the results iteratively as you go versus waiting till the end and then going, yeah, this is wrong. This isn't what I expected.
That's right.
They're able to give feedback along the way, and then the team can obviously reset or take that learning as they go and make changes so that at the end of the time frame, they're delivering a product that the customer is happy about.
That's exactly right. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a key piece of it. Is that it's not just iterative changes, but it's also iterative feedback too.
Absolutely.
Right? And the rule, I guess one of the rules of Agile is there's no scope of work. And all there is a direction, and you just iterate in that direction. And if you're going off track, you make the adjustment, get back on track and go. And that might happen in a matter of weeks as opposed to a yearly cycle, which, is not nearly as effective.
Right. For sure.
Right.
So how does this fit then with fit? What's the relationship then between agile strategy execution and fit? Where do those two come together?
So if you think of agile, if you think of fit as the behavior pattern of routine iteration and improvement, right? Focus, iterate, and track. Agile strategy execution is the sort of leader standard work of making sure everyone is fit and everyone is exercising, following the fit process. So that's where you incorporate the cascading goals, driving alignment of goals, and the routine coaching pattern and those things, right? Because a person can just choose their own goal and exercise, focus, iterate, and track, right? As an individual who wants to be fit, right? Who wants to continuously improve. But when you want to do that at enterprise scale, now you gotta cascade and align on goals. You got to drive those coaching patterns through leadership and frontline levels to maintain and accelerate fitness in a sense. Yeah.
No, that's good. I'm just thinking back to my weight loss journey, or my my personal fit journey. When I'm working out regularly, and I'm weighing myself usually every day, which I don't know how important it is daily to weigh myself, but I'm also tracking how much weight am I lifting, how far am I running, what are my times, are those getting better, and then obviously my weight and my drop in weight, how many calories am I taking. So there's a lot of quantifiable metrics that I'm tracking in order to stay physically fit. Yep. So for an organization, the last piece of fit, the track piece, can you just walk us through a little bit of that and what that might look like for an organization? Again, I know we talked a little bit about the focus and the importance of being iterative. Yep. What are some thoughts around the track piece for an organization?
Yeah, so I think most companies understand the importance of maintaining a dashboard. And if you're a manager, part of your main responsibility is to keep all the cups full, the way I like to describe it. So, and if any cup if any of those cups leak out and get in the red, like we mentioned, you want to take corrective action, right? That's generally good management practice, right? And a lot of time companies have visual management boards and digital dashboards and different tools to manage that, and that's important as well. What we're talking about here is, let's take for an individual person, there is an aspect of sustaining what's good, and correcting what is below standard, and then there's but this thing needs to get way better. Right. This thing needs to be managed to a level that perhaps we've never seen before. Right. So for each individual person, you have your goal, but then the person next to you also has a goal that they're driving, and you have that single point of accountability. And the next person, other people have goals too. So again, the objective is not to just have one thing and abandon all others. It's to focus on the thing you're going to improve next, and to what extent, right? Because you feel like within your scope of responsibility, that's the one that needs to be much better than it is today. And that's going to lead you to a much better station in life, ultimately. So, So I guess there's two aspects of tracking. There's tracking for generally good management practices, but then there's tracking for, all right, but this is the thing I'm on the hook to deliver to my business, right? And we're going to hit numbers over here that we've never seen before. And that's where you apply the, agile strategy execution and the fit process.
Yeah, I love that. It made me think about an organization that we were working with, and they have a large number of projects that they're tracking on a regular basis. And they're trying to figure out how do we get the good value add conversations around these on a regular basis. And so we were talking about, well, do you really need to spend time hearing from the people that when their projects are on track, do you really need to hear any more than that? If they're on track, maybe we should focus only on the projects that are off track and spend more of our time there. So prioritize those in the meetings to talk about those first.
Oh yeah.
So that you don't spend time, on the other ones. But then they came back and said, what if we changed the agenda for those projects that are on track and had a separate time where instead of talking specifically about what happened with the project since they're on track, what if we talk about how to improve what we're doing with those projects or what we've learned, and we just change the conversation for those particular projects. And I saw, man, that's amazing, because obviously that's the goal is, we want to get those projects that are behind track. We want to get those back on track, but even the ones that are on track, we should be looking at opportunities to continue to improve on those. And what are we learning? What can we do better? Right.
It's almost taking it to the next plateau, right? Where you're using those as sort of creating project management best practices, right? That could be applied across everything. Right. So
absolutely.
So even, to your point, right? Even in those, if they're on track, then maybe the goal is a little bit too easy, right? Maybe you need to stretch them a little further,
Sure. Absolutely.
That could be the case. I worked at I worked at a company once, and I had a responsibility for multiple sites. And our site in this was in Santiago, Chile. We would go into the site, and all of the metrics would be in green, and there would even be a couple of them in gold status. Right? And as much as I appreciate that, they felt they were doing a great job, it made my skin crawl a little bit, because the question now is like, if everybody thinks you're doing so great, where's the motivation to do better? And you can't possibly believe that you can't do any better. So, it's not always, to your advantage to paint that kind of picture. But I'm sure they had their reasons, but that was my impression just as a visitor, to the site. But
we always say, celebrate the green, but then reset and reset your goals and look for what's next. Always keeping tension on the team, always keeping them excited about what's next, or just a healthy discontentment with the status quo.
Absolutely. There you go.
To look for something different. So
that's right, and it can be a healthy discontentment, to your point.
Absolutely,
right,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Calvin, this has been great. Great conversation. Love the concept, the book, everything that you're doing for the lean community, with Improver and all the other work that you do. If anybody's interested to get a copy of Fit, I found it on Amazon. Is there anywhere else that people should be looking, or is Amazon the right place to go?
Yeah. Amazon is it. Working on the audiobook coming out this summer as well for you audiobook heads, but don't let that stop you from getting the hardcover. I would say. But yeah, it's there. We got a series of courses on our online community. It's at Improver University. Teaches Agile strategy execution. We got stuff for Toyota Kata. We got some stuff in the pipeline to do like Lean and Six Sigma certifications also. So certifications of completion, and plus more. And that's a great place to find it.
Great. Well, we'll put that link into the show notes and make sure that everybody has access to your website there. And then I appreciate you being on, and look forward to having you back another time. We'll pick another topic and dive into something else.
As always, you're always welcome. Just let me know. Also, I need to get you on our podcast, Document the Journey. I think you were on some time ago, maybe a year and a half ago. We need to get you back on there. Yeah,
let's do that for sure.
For sure. Good.
All right. Thanks, Calvin.
All right. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Lean Solutions Podcast. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe. This way you'll get updates as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please give us a review. Thank you so much.